This Las Vegas implosion is the biggest show in town. It's a demolition gambler, a tough old cowboy who has kept his cards hidden.
This is the evildoer.
To raise the ante,
If someone was to come in here and step on this right now, it would be coming down on our heads.
or fold.
It comes apart literally like a house of cards.
For the demo team, it's more than their reputations on the table. It's their lives.
That's what I'm talking about right there, baby.
This is Las Vegas, Nevada, the destination of gamblers and thrill seekers.
I am at 2:22 and 15 seconds.
Controlled Demolition Incorporated is ready to take down this, the new Frontier Hotel and Casino complex. Last-minute checks.
Okay, the next radio check will be at 2:29 and
At 2:30 a.m., fireworks burst from the face of the building. Crowds of demo fans cheer the show on. The implosion team has loaded 544 kilograms of dynamite into the walls, while pyrotechnicians added 1,600 kilograms of fireworks, enough to light the sky over Vegas for 6 minutes. A potentially volatile mix, but the demo specialists face an even bigger challenge. The team took the job without accurate blueprints and can't guarantee that their explosive plan will overcome the vintage Vegas construction. Super strong walls overpacked with rebar.
so are you with your fire equipment?
Can their demolition experience bring this building down? Will it land in the fall zone or toward the billion-dollar super casinos next door? Countdown. Twisted steel, fractured concrete, toxic dust. Heavy equipment prepares this 16-story hotel casino for implosion. The property owners have hired controlled demolition from Phoenix, Maryland, to clear the site for a new multi-billion-dollar casino complex. Marc Loiseau heads this unique family business. He designs and oversees the implosion plan. And in the demolition game, with lives at stake, Marc keeps his deck stacked with aces. His wife Sherry, with daughters Devin and Stacy, work with him on most jobs. These aces are up against a tight schedule. Every day the old casino stands, the new owners continue to lose millions of dollars of potential revenue. So they want it down now. The Frontier's slot machines fell silent in July of 2007, sealing the fate of one of the oldest buildings on the Strip. Only 16 stories high, it is a blip on the modern Las Vegas skyline, dwarfed by super casinos built of glass and concrete. The Fashion Show Mall, the destination for shoppers. Steve Wynn's Dream Casino. And there's this, introducing the Trump Tower Las Vegas. 64 stories of floor-to-ceiling windows. It's brand new, and it's all glass. In this sea of windows, the Frontier presents a major challenge. Marc normally drops buildings using gravity and momentum. So ironically, the shorter the building, the harder it is to fall. The Frontier is short, long and narrow. The building's natural tendency is to drop here. Marc wants it to drop sideways into a small fall zone and away from any neighboring buildings. To overcome the building's will, Mark times the dynamite to explode in the supporting walls from north to south. As the last explosions collapse this wall, cabling installed by the crew will tighten and drag over the far south wall onto the rest of the structure, dropping it like a tree. The plan sounds complicated, but directs the debris away from the billion-dollar real estate surrounding the frontier. Controlled Demolition has gambled on jobs in Vegas before.
You know how circus groups travel together? You know, this is sort of it's the same thing. It's like family, the whole family does this, and they go from one place to the next. Instead of being circus performers, they're sort of the grim reaper of buildings.
Demolition is part of a cycle of destruction and reinvention to attract visitors from around the world, eager for new adventures. Las Vegas often sheds the old to make way for the bigger, bolder, glitzier new. CDI has had quite a run in this gambling mecca, imploding 20 structures on 12 casino properties, euthanizing 10 structures in the last 5 years alone.
Mark Lazio says he has a plan to knock down anything on the strip. And then when I said to him, I said, "You got a plan to knock down the Bellagio?" And he's like, "I could do it." Like, well, yeah, but probably not for quite a long time. It's like, you never know in Vegas.
Implosions are only as good as the preparation. So today, Mark focuses entirely on the frontier. The prep crews have a lot of work ahead to execute Mark's plan and load the explosives. The team will drill holes for the dynamite. They'll install the steel cables, which will run from the elevator shaft to the southern exterior wall, and gut the hotel down to the concrete. The biggest job will be to weaken the walls, removing sections to allow the building to collapse. After this work is complete, the team will load the explosives and cover the dynamite with thick protective fabric. With the plan laid out, the crews get going.
And find the highest horizontal bar. So we got to figure that out to determine how high we can take this, because we don't want to take out that horizontal reinforcing.
Prepping the site is this guy's job. Kevin Klass, a trusted CDI team member and the Frontier Implosion Project manager. The first step is a strategic weakening of the walls. Called CMUs, or concrete masonry units, these support walls were assembled on-site using concrete blocks and reinforcing steel bars. They make for sturdy walls. The Frontier was built like a house of cards. The floors were placed on top of the CMUs. But each card is a slab of solid concrete.
And they're physically sitting on these walls is what's supporting them. So you certainly don't want to take out an area that would leave this precast panel in limbo. So that's why we have to go do some math and figure out what to leave and where they can sit, and still essentially accomplish our goal by isolating the columns.
Mark calculates that the team must remove 30% of the wall and leave 70% intact. Taking out more may cause this house of cards to collapse.
I'm going to take this panel completely out.
If that's the case.
Yeah, but we would leave this block in.
The CMUs cause another problem. Mark is unable to complete a critical step of a normal implosion, a test shot. A test shot is usually performed within the structure to confirm how the building materials react to specific explosives. It helps the team decide how much explosive to use and where to place them. But Mark is nervous about doing one.
If you try to test shoot a CMU wall, you run the risk of losing a panel. If you lose a panel, you might lose more than one panel, you get a progressive failure. I'm just not comfortable doing test blasts in this type of construction.
These walls are unstable, and the entire building could come down around them if they proceed.
Just do that. We'll take out that and we'll leave a leg back there, but I'll put tape on it.
Mark can't risk setting off even one small stick of dynamite, but that means he's got a problem. At the Frontier Hotel, the local demolition contractor works from floor to floor, stripping the structure down to the bare walls.
If you implode it with all that stuff, then you get a mixture of drywall, mixture of carpet, concrete, metal, pipes, and in the end, it's hard to clean up with the machines.
This bad boy is a specially equipped skid steer.
Make sure he's getting it up high.
Its giant claw-like bucket guts the building.
So that's why you want to gut it out to leave it just concrete. So when it comes down, it's just concrete that we're dealing with, not metal, not trash.
This preparation work allows the contractor to recycle the concrete debris after the demolition. But in the demo game, anything can go wrong anytime. And at the Frontier, the problems crop up early. On the ground floor, at the foot of the support wall, the team faces a setback. It's an unexpected threat to the demo plan, dense steel rebar. Kevin needs some backup. Mark's original plan did not account for this much steel, and without a new plan of attack, this building will not come down. With only a week until the implosion, they've been dealt a bad hand. The Frontier was one of the original casino hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. Once owned by the billionaire Howard Hughes, it has a checkered history. It was the first place on the Strip to feature Elvis Presley, where Siegfried and Roy had their first headline show, and where Diana Ross and the Supremes came to an end. But it was never a top Vegas draw or the most glamorous hotel. Its decor has ranged from Wild West themes to outer space.
The Frontier is a tricky one because the Frontier has always been a troubled property. When this hotel disappears, there are very few people who are going to be crying over it.
Developer Steve Wynn is building another spectacular casino resort right next door.
He talked about having his hotel across the Frontier as if he was being punished, and he referred to it as the single biggest toilet in Las Vegas.
The explosives team prepares to remove the eyesore. But while Kevin's crew cuts out sections of the wall, they reveal an extraordinary amount of rebar. During construction, builders usually space rebar evenly to reinforce concrete. Mark expects to find a number 6 rebar, which has a diameter of 19 millimeters. At the Frontier, however, the rebar has been bunched together, and to make matters worse, the team finds number 12 rebar, which has double the diameter. Mark really worries that even dynamite will not bring these walls down.
I've got to get enough energy inside this rebar cage to bend this rebar in a vertical situation, even with the concrete removal, hold this end of the structure up.
Despite the setback, the team continues with the other phases of preparation to load the dynamite. Each stick must be loaded in a pre-drilled hole, and Mark estimates they will need more than 5,000. The man in charge is Craig Keyes. The other guys on the job give him a lot of respect.
Craig Keyes is one of the finest drillers I've ever seen. He's smart. He doesn't run the drill so much as he lets the drill run itself and guides the drill.
You would think drilling holes would be easy, but it's not. The drilling team must drill each hole to a precise depth in order for the dynamite to properly seat.
He won't say anything, but I know he feels it, but he's just tough. Tough guy, good guy. I ask him who he is, and he says, just describe me as 250 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. And I just walk away at that point. That's all I need. He's a good driller. Good.
They're drilling holes on the ground 3rd, 7th, and 10th floors. The dynamite can't be loaded until they're finished. Meanwhile, another part of the crew begins cabling, part of Mark's plan to bring down the frontier in a sideways direction. The south wall is the one nearest to the frontier's neighbors. By dragging it into a confined fall area, the team will direct the debris and air overpressure away from the nearby structures. There are 16 support walls within the structure, 8 to the front and 8 in the back. These 14 will be loaded with dynamite, but the south walls will not be imploded, but dragged over. To do this, the team attaches cables from the outside of the stairwell to the next major support, which is this elevator shaft. The team wraps and clamps the cable to the 4th and 8th floors, just above shot floors 3 and 7. On demo day, Mark will trigger explosions on the shot floors in intervals moving from north to south. As the first set go off, they'll start dropping the building, putting heavy tension on the cables. The cables will pull the support wall over. Work is well underway in the hotel tower. The team must also clear the site, removing a shorter U-shaped structure from the fall zone. The building is only 3 stories high and wood framed, so the team will use this track hoe to tear it down. Just as they start, workers discover asbestos, which the team must remove before they can proceed. Remediation is painstakingly slow and done by hand. All of the asbestos must be bagged, tagged, sealed, and sent away. It's a hot and sweaty job. Daytime temperatures reach 30 degrees centigrade, and crews wear biohazard suits while working in structures with no air conditioning. There are no shortcuts. The team must complete the job properly. If they don't, the toxic asbestos will be released during the demolition and become airborne. Anyone nearby could inhale it and risk long-term lung damage. Mark's demolition team must manage all the risks.
He increased a little
Kevin meets with the neighbors.
How you been, sir?
I've been doing well. Depends on how this meeting goes.
With the Trump, the Wynn, and the fashion show properties sitting uncomfortably close to the blast zone, dust and debris are major concerns.
Those are the big issues for me, is just structural, just vibration as far as what it's going to do to potentially damaging tenants.
Kevin navigates
merchandise.
these meetings, aware that a dust cloud hangs over the discussions.
A, how much dust, then B, how long does it take to settle?
Massive intake fans for the air conditioning units line the roofs of each building. If the demolition dust was sucked in, the ventilation system could be damaged and dust spewed throughout the complex. Maintenance personnel will shut down the intakes and wrap the fans in protective fabric on implosion night. And wind is a concern. Too little can be as dangerous as too much. When CDI blew up the Stardust Hotel in 2007, it was the worst dust the team had ever seen. It was caused by a freak weather condition. On that day, the relative humidity was only 2.5%, and the dust particles had no moisture to bind with to make them heavy enough to fall to the ground. The dust hung in the air for 45 minutes. So the neighbors have every reason to worry.
That was cool. That was cool.
CDI has an $80,000 bond to make sure the dust is cleaned up.
You know, everybody wants a piece of something.
Over 5,000 sticks of explosives will be used to bring the Frontier down. The Las Vegas Fire Department requires that the explosives be stored securely. These are powder magazines, super tough steel containers that can be locked. The explosives will arrive the next morning, and Kevin must get the magazines here, to the casino's old swimming pool. It's an open pit reinforced with concrete that would contain an accidental explosion. This is what an uncontained 500-kilogram explosion can do. So proper storage is critical. The pool is here, hemmed in by a drop on the south side and the Frontier's east and west wings. They must punch through this building to transport the magazines to the pool. As the sun begins to set, with only 12 hours until the scheduled delivery, an excavator begins to tear down the wings. The team works through the night to meet the deadline for the dawn arrival of the dynamite. A couple of hours before daybreak, the excavator reaches the pool. It preps the pool for the magazines by leveling the floor with dirt. And finally, as dawn cracks the night sky, the excavator lowers the powder magazines into the bottom of the pool. They're ready for the dynamite delivery. The dynamite arrives as scheduled. It is now 5 days before implosion, and the team must begin to load the explosives to stay on track. But they haven't solved the problem of the reinforcing bar, and it is about to get worse. Because they need holes to load the dynamite into, the rebar is causing another major slowdown. The face drilling for the dynamite holes has run into a snag. As in the supporting walls below, the reinforcing bar is slowing Craig down.
What happened is I drilled into the rebar, I drilled through the rebar, and after I got past the rebar, the drill bit now has a lot of drill fines and some drill steel behind it, and it won't pull out now. They're loose, as you can see, but they're stuck in the rebar.
These walls are chocked full of it.
We literally have 4 and 5 layers of rebar on the end of the concrete columns, which is, as far as I'm concerned, is unheard of.
The extra rebar causes 2 major problems. It slows the team as they drill the holes. The rebar also creates extra reinforcement in the walls and requires additional holes to be drilled for more explosives. Either way, the problems will cost them time they don't have in the schedule. In the world's capital for gambling, they hope for a miracle.
What do you think we should try and get accomplished today?
Cut cord.
Meet Stacy and her sister Devin. They handle the explosives. They've just arrived in Las Vegas and expect to begin loading right away.
It's gonna just sweep, you know?
Is it sweaty already?
It's brand new Pro Max.
Let's look at it.
It's 19,600 feet per second.
What?
Yeah.
19,000?
Yeah.
But from the get-go, they're uneasy.
Magazine right now, inspecting the dynamite.
At nearly 5,800 meters per second, the dynamite is extremely high velocity and contains a high percentage of nitroglycerin.
Yeah, we're here. We're gonna.
The sticks of dynamite are sweating from the heat, leaking noxious chemicals. But that's not all they have to deal with. A quick orientation tour confirms the amount of work ahead. They're getting their first look at the Frontier prep work. They're not impressed.
Yeah, this is ugly.
Yes.
And it is about to get worse.
Got a lot of work to do yet.
A lot of work.
See those funky legs I had to leave?
Yeah.
There's a massive reinforcing in those little areas. And it's not on this side, it's just on that side. So I left it.
I hate these buildings.
See, look at this. Some of them aren't even attached to the floor.
Holy crap, that's a monster bar in there.
But there's your splice, and then this one, it comes down, doesn't go into the floor. It just stops. It's dangling.
Well,
I didn't know what to do, so I left it.
okay. Kev?
Yes.
Why aren't these cut out? I mean, was there
Dad
some...
didn't want them cut out.
He wants it... Well, he doesn't want to compromise the fence. I understand that. I mean, look, I can't get...
Yeah,
There's no way to get to that.
Some of them you're going to have to cut.
Another team has already installed chain link fencing to contain the flying debris, but it is covering most of the holes. Stacy and Devin can't load. Yet one more team must cut openings to allow them to place the explosives. More than 5,000 holes. In the meantime, another team unloads their explosive devices. But unlike the demolition team, these guys don't want to contain their explosions. They want maximum impact. These are the pyrotechnicians. They bring a mountain of gear and over a ton of fireworks to place in and on the structure, much of it on the outside face. They will send the Frontier out in a blazing Vegas finale. Chris Carlino is Director of Operations for the fireworks program. He'll warm up the crowd with a pre-demolition fireworks show.
We've done fireworks all over the world, but to do an implosion, to see at the end of that, when this building comes down, it's just something that you don't see every day. It's pretty impressive.
As the demo team prepares to load, the pyrotechnicians spread through the building. Dynamite and the fireworks show could prove to be a dangerous mix.
When we're walking on the same floors that the dynamite is on, that gets a little unnerving. You know, when CDI comes up to us and says, don't step on that, because if you step on it, you could take out the whole building. That just, you know, adds a little bit extra.
Normally, the technicians trigger the fireworks from close range, but the explosive climax requires a different approach. The fireworks team employs remotely operated electronics to choreograph the pyrotechnics. But with their stage being imploded, they've come up with a cool way to recover the expensive gear.
We have over $12,000 worth of these devices on the building. We need these close to the building so we could have the fireworks show that we plan on putting on tonight. But the problem is, because this is an implosion, once the building comes down, they'll be buried in the rubble and be destroyed.
These canisters contain the firing modules. The canisters will eject from the building and slide down these zip lines to safety, just seconds before the building implosion.
As soon as our fireworks show is over, the first charge that CDI is going to fire will be at cable cutters that will cut the cable and our firing cables that are coming from the barrel and leading to the fireworks. This barrel will now slide down the cable out of harm's way.
At least that's the theory. Poolside, the family prepares pigtails, cutting more than 5,000 sticks of dynamite and fitting them with detonating cord.
Yeah, we're tying knots in cord. No, Kevin and I agree with him, but I mean, our flight was delayed. By the time we got here, trying to load today would sort of be fruitless. We're gonna make as many pigtails as we can.
The detonating cord delivers the spark, a small explosion to set off the dynamite. This is what one stick does. The team completes the dynamite prep, but will the building be ready to load when they return in the morning? On the ground floor, Mark is having doubts. The sheer amount of steel rebar in the base remains a serious concern. Mark must kick the legs out from under the building. His plan requires the complete failure of the ground floor walls, but the density of reinforcing bar makes this increasingly unlikely.
We've had problems drilling reinforced CMU before because it's concrete masonry units, concrete blocks, and they put rebar in it, but apparently the rebar they put here was much larger.
The explosions will start at the north end, shatter the reinforced wall, and direct it towards the middle of the structure. With subsequent explosions, the walls will tumble like dominoes. As walls collapse, the cabling will drag over the southern wall. But if Mark can't conquer the reinforcing bar and cause the north wall to fail completely, the building could remain upright, causing what's known as a sit-down.
If it sits down too early, it might stand up. So we could have sections of structure standing. I hope not. I think not. We'll see.
Sit-downs have happened before. 2006, in Pittsburgh, a different demolition company tried to implode the East Hill high-rise. A portion of the building didn't fail. And when gravity couldn't finish the job, a second set of blasts was required. On implosion day, Mark must guarantee that this wall will fail completely to ensure a safe and complete end to the frontier. So to overcome the rebar loaded into the ground floor, he'll use an old logging trick.
We've got to get it moving. I've got to create a notch here just like you would notch a tree, and you can see the development of this notch back here a little bit. All of this has to go away in the blink of an eye.
But Mark won't use an axe. He'll use some pre-weakening and dynamite to create the notch. The team must place extra explosives to remove more of the wall and rebar on implosion day. But that's assuming they can drill the holes.
Craig Keyes is still drilling. Usually he will drill something the order of 100 to 130 holes a day. Yesterday, in 4 hours, he got 4. And I think that probably says it all.
Mark is not happy. Craig Keyes has been derailed by the sheer size and amount of rebar in the walls. With time running out, CDI brings in the big gun.
Right now, we're running into a lot of rebar in the building. The lower you go in the building, the more rebar will be encountered. The Toya drill that I use, the handheld drill, is having a really hard time chewing through the rebar. So now we have the track drill going, and it has much easier time.
It's called the track drill, and it has enough power to punch through steel, with the track drill working overtime. The team might just get back on schedule, but only if they can get the dynamite loaded in just 2 days' time. Finally, with the drilling crew successful, Stacy begins loading the dynamite. Another team works ahead to cut the fencing for her to access the drill holes. The fencing's jagged holes make it impossible for Stacy to wear gloves, and the sharp metal cuts her hands.
Stacy gets cut on every project. She's not bleeding, we're not working hard enough. It's just some reaching in and getting caught on these sharp edges. She's tough.
Tough or not, she still has a long way to go. The chain link will control the fly of debris from the explosion. Its purpose is to protect the other explosives.
The cord has to be protected because it will still be here when the column in front of it goes off. And if concrete were to come over here and fly and cut it, potentially a whole line of holes would not go off. Now we have live explosives in the pile, which is our worst possible scenario.
Since they've cut the chain link to load the dynamite, the team worries that it will no longer contain the debris. So they wrap everything in fabric. These enormous black sheets are made of geotextile fabric. cover crews wrap them around the severed chain link.
It's got to go up the top, otherwise we're not getting coverage on it. So if you're 6 inches short, make it 6 inches at the bottom. Okay, get the fabric right there.
It is a second layer of protection. They also wrap the exterior of the building around the shot floors. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7th, and 10th levels. This outer wrap will capture any potential shrapnel during the explosions. A safety barrier for the crowds and structures nearby. The wrapping crews work right behind Stacy. As she finishes a wall, the crew is hot on her heels. She can't slow down.
We're working very fast because there is a 7-man cover crew behind us waiting to have something to do.
And the physical challenges are mounting.
The dynamite we're using here is extremely hot, meaning it's very high velocity. It's over 19,600 feet per second, which means it's got a very heavy nitroglycerin content, which means it's giving us all raging nitroglycerin headaches. So we've all been feeling quite ill since we started working. Horrible headaches, horrible nausea, but we work through it. It's got to get done.
Nitroglycerin isn't just explosive. It's ingestible, and it can be poisonous. Nitro is a vasodilator. It expands blood vessels. It's perfect in small doses to treat high blood pressure, but in large quantities, it's noxious.
It's much warmer here, so it actually weeps a little bit of nitroglycerin, which immediately is absorbed into your pores. And if you consider a heart patient takes a tiny, tiny little pill to dilate their blood vessels so that they're getting more blood to the heart, we're ingesting, absorbing, inhaling tons of this stuff all day, and it really takes its toll on you.
So while the building takes a beating, the team takes its licks too. During weeks of work, the team has uncovered excess steel buried in the walls, acted as diplomats and drillers, notched and cabled walls, constantly aware of the stakes. Billions of dollars in real estate surround the blast zone. And now they're ready. They have loaded 1,600 kilograms of fireworks and over 500 kilos of dynamite. But they'll have to wait until 2:30 a.m. to see if their efforts will pay off. Midnight. The streets of most cities are deserted, but this is Vegas. And this city needs a 24-hour clock. The streets fill with spectators, drawn to the action. The police shut down the strip. They divert traffic to establish an exclusion zone and to control the crowds during the upcoming spectacle. Enormous lights illuminate the old hotel, revealing a final view as the media jockeys for position. Meanwhile, inside the structure, the demolition team scrambles through the dark, retracing each step and making last-minute checks.
No matter how attentive you are at the time, you get distracted, somebody calls you on the radio, you have to go back and look. That's why we do it. We literally walk and look at every single connection, every piece of tape, everything, every clip to make certain. In fact, we already walked up on 7 and 10, and I did find a half of a panel not clipped on 7. That's why we do this. We are always the last people in the building.
It's an eerie feeling, knowing they'll be the last to walk these floors, but they must stay focused. These checks are critical, and they could be the most dangerous part of the entire implosion.
What we have on the floor right now is the most sensitive thing that we work with. This detonator right here is an exposed detonator. If someone was to come in here and step on this right now, theoretically, they could set this off, which would start the chain reaction in the wrong place. But still, the entire building would be coming down on our heads within about 8 seconds.
In the darkness, any misstep could bring disaster. Mark's moment of structural euthanasia approaches. It is less than 1 hour until the implosion. Here in Las Vegas, demolition has become a spectator sport and has bred its own superfan. Brian Eamon lives and works here and never gets tired of a good show. He's seen the Castaway, the Boardwalk, and the Desert Inn Parkade drop. And now he's front and center for the Frontier implosion.
Yeah, the boardwalk start us.
We were scrambling on rooftops for the boardwalk.
Trying not to get kicked out by the cops to find a
every time we
spot to
turned around,
watch.
the same cop was finding us again. I'm like,
I think anytime we do a shot in Vegas, it's something to stay up for. It's something to come out and see, even though it's at 2:30 in the morning. It's always a little glitzy. You know, it's Vegas. That's what they do.
The city is always reinventing itself. And for guys like Brian, the cycle of destruction is an exciting sideshow.
A new lifeline for Vegas, new revenue, more money. That's what Vegas is all about.
With time winding down and people filling the streets, Stacy and Devin worry that the crowd has breached the exclusion zone. They check in with Mark to ensure that no one is too close to the implosion.
Stace, I've got people in this parking lot where I'm standing. Should I have them get back? You know the parking lot where Devin is pulling back to over by the interstate? She says there's several people there with cameras. It's a bad spot.
Okay, but you're within 50 feet of the fence along the Desert Inn Street.
50 feet.
Yeah, that's all right.
Mark keeps his team focused, right to the last minute. Mark has set the stage. The legendary Frontier Hotel is about to become history. It's going out Vegas style. It's now only a few minutes until Mark triggers the explosives to bring down the Frontier Hotel. He coordinates timing between the pyrotechnicians and the demolition team. A plunger sequence will be the grand finale of the fireworks spectacle to signal the start of the implosion. Mark has only a 10-second window to charge his blast machine, or else the capacitor will kick out. If that happens, he can't fire the shot at the end of the fireworks display, ruining the show for the Vegas crowd. His timing must be perfect. Mark wires the control box. His wife Sherry stands close, a reliable second set of eyes.
Kevin Class, are you clear?
It's clear. I'm just getting Jason in.
Stacy Loiseau.
Casey's clear.
Josh Kloss.
For Josh.
Josh, they are going to push the plunger when the box disappears on the face of the building, yes?
10-4.
Okay, Grucci and I are going to run with it.
All right, everybody, guys, have a good show. If you see anything, just keep it clean on the radio.
1 minute, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The 1-minute signal. There's no turning back. The fireworks burst into the night sky. Mark sits and waits, steady on the switch. He monitors the progress of the fireworks to time the warm-up of his blaster, which requires a 10-second charge.
1 minute till the end of the fireworks. 1 minute. "30 seconds. Circuit is still monitoring. Clear."
Will the detonations bring down the reinforced walls? The team takes a deep breath. It's time.
There it comes. Watch the fuse coming through. There it comes. Look at that, dude. Look at that.
The first shots release the pods belonging to the pyrotechnicians.
There's the pods coming down.
Then the wall charges detonate, and the frontier collapses. Is it a successful implosion? With the dust cloud, it's difficult to tell. Here's how the implosion works. First, the plunger illuminates the face of the building. Then, a series of charges cut loose the pyrotechnicians' escape pods. Next, Mark initiates the detonation sequence, and the dynamite goes off in succession. The frontier collapses from left to right, with the far right wall falling back onto the rubble. It's the fall sequence Mark hoped for, and it's spectacular.
Clear to go. All clear. Kevin, how did it look from your side? What did the north end do toward you?
Pretty much what you thought it would do. It looked great.
Okay, Bob Reckel, how about from you? What was the reaction in the VIP area? Did they like the show?
It would appear to be so.
This shot was absolutely great. Loud, as I knew it would be. A lot of powder, a lot of cord going off, but again, seamless coordination between the fireworks folks, Garucci, and us, and it's beautiful. Everybody's thrilled.
Mark is impressed.
The north end, I was concerned about stacking up a little bit, and you can see that's the highest part of the debris pile there. It's probably up about 30, 35 feet, but that's still about 7 feet lower than the reach of his big machine, so I haven't seen Josh Kloss yet. He'll be very happy.
The dust cloud drifts towards the wind. It's moving, it's dissipating, and it's manageable. And at the trunk, the blast didn't break any windows.
Good job.
Oh, well, thanks, sweetie. It went well. I'm pleased. Was it loud enough for you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The cleanup crew fans out across the strip, chasing the dust with an army of water trucks and street sweepers. They'll scrub Vegas clean. And by morning, the city will shine in the sun.